Okay, the first thing we're going to do on this little thing is we're going to separate these two papers. This paper is kind of a guide to how to solve equations. And we got this side as if I have equations that have parentheses. And then this paper here kind of gives me a guide for the graphing. So, the first thing we have to do on this is graph, okay? So I need to get these equations because the first four problems I am taking equations and putting them on the graph, or representing the relationship between the x and the y. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go through the four problems and decide if it's going to be a parabola or a line, and that's determined if we have the second power on the x. So this we have x to the second power, so that's a p, parabola. Next problem, I definitely have the second power on the x. I mean, it's in a parentheses, but the second, everything in the parentheses is to the second power, and x is one of those things, so that's a per p. Okay, then on the next page I don't see a second power, but the fact that we have a product of two separate x's, each parentheses contains x, that makes it a parabola. The next one, there's only one x and it's not to the second power, so that is going to be a line. Okay, so let's go through and graph these. Now remember, with the parabolas, we're either going to look in quadrant 1, quadrant 2, or quadrant 3. Quadrant 4 is for lines. So quadrant 1, if there is no parentheses, we look under the standard. Okay, in this first problem, there is no parentheses, so I will be following this quadrant here. So standard form, and I make my XY table. Sorry about the crappy, let's get a different color on that pen. There we go. Okay. Okay, now the key to a parabola is finding the middle x. And the middle x, if it's in standard form, is found by using the opposite of b divided by 2 parentheses a, or 2 times a. And remember, a is in front of whatever x to the second, and b is whatever's in front of x. So the a is 3 and the b is 12. I don't really have a use for c when I'm graphing. Okay, so, and the formula, of course, is the opposite of b divided by 2 parentheses a. Sorry, I didn't give you a lot of workspace. So I'm going to make my line, and the opposite of plus 12, well, that would be negative 12. And then I put 2 parentheses, and then whatever the a is, which is 3. So I times 2 and 3, and that's 6. Now some of you are like, well, I thought it was always a negative divided by negative. Yeah, on a story problem it is, but not on these graphing problems. Negative 12 divided by 6 is negative 2, okay? So that is going to be my middle x, okay? So now the middle x has been found. Now I'm on to this step. Now I plus 1 and minus 1 to find the other x's. So I'd go negative 2 plus 1. And that's negative 1. Then I go back to my negative 2, and I take negative 2 minus 1, and that's negative 3. Okay, then I plug in on the calculator to find the y's. I just replace x on the calculator with these values. So the first one's negative 1. So I've got 3 parentheses negative 1 to the second power, this key here, and then plus 12 parentheses negative 1, and then minus 5. That's negative 14. Okay, now negative 2, so I have 3, parentheses negative 2, second power, plus 12, parentheses negative 2, and then minus 5, and that's, whoops, I screwed that up. 3, parentheses negative 2, second power, and then plus 12, parentheses negative 2, and then minus 5. Negative 17, okay. I had it right the first time. Okay, now I put in negative 3. So 3 parentheses negative 3, second power, plus 12 parentheses negative 3, and then minus 5. And that took me back to negative 14, and that's right, because it's a parabola. Now we're going to go by 2's when I do my y's. So I go left 1. I'm still going by 1's this way. Left 1, and then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Okay, negative 2, negative 17, so I go left 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, just go off the graph. I don't mind you going off the graph, it's just a little ways. And then negative 3, negative 14, so I go left 1, 2, 3, down 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, right there. Okay, and I have my parabola. Okay, my next problem is another parabola, but we're not going to look in quadrant 1 because this parabola contains a parentheses, one parentheses. So I want to be in this quadrant here where we have the x and just one parentheses. So make my xy table. And then to find the middle x, you set the expression in your parentheses equal to 0. So x plus 3 equals 0. That will find the vertex. So I solved the little equation to find the middle x. Pretty easy to do. Subtract 3, I get negative 3. So negative 3 is my middle x. And then I do the same thing. I plus 1 and minus 1 to find the other x's. So negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. And negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4. Okay, and then I plug it into my calculator. So negative 3 parentheses, but instead of x plus 3, we want negative 2 plus 3. Close it. Second power, and then plus 5. That gave me a 2. Okay, now I put in negative 3. So negative 3 parentheses negative 3 plus 3. Close it. Second power it. Plus 5. That's 5. Okay, and it's a parabola, so this should take me back to 2. Let's see if it does. Instead of x, it's going to be negative 4 plus 3. Close it. Second power, plus 5, and it does. It takes me back to 2. So negative 2, 2. So I go left 2 and up 2. Negative 3, 5. I go left 3, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then negative 4, 2. I go left 1, 2, 3, 4, up 1, 2. Okay. So it's upside down, and that's fine. Okay. Okay, my next problem. 3 times x minus 4 times x plus 6. We said it was going to be a parabola, but it wouldn't be in standard form because it's got parentheses, and it wouldn't be in vertex form because it has more than one. It'd be in factored form. So I want to look at this quadrant here with factored form. Okay, set each parentheses equal to 0. So x minus 4 equals 0 and x plus 6 equals 0. Okay. Solve the little equations to find the first and third x. So I plus 4, so x is 4. Minus 6, and I get negative 6. Okay, and these are my first and third x's, so 4 and negative 6. Now to find the middle, we need to add those two, the first and third, 4 and negative 6, and then divide that sum by 2. So 4 plus negative 6 equals negative 2, and then I need to divide that by 2. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1, so I get negative 1. And then I plug into my calculator. So 3 parentheses, and then 4 minus 4, close it. And then parentheses, and then negative 6 plus 6. Close that up, and that takes me to 0. Okay, now negative 1, 3 parentheses, I'll be going negative 1 minus 4, close it. And then another parentheses, and I'll go negative 1 plus 6, close it. That gives me negative 75. Okay, and now negative 6 gets plugged in for each x. So 3 parentheses, and then negative 6 minus 4, close it, and then parentheses negative 6 plus 6. And that's back to 0. Okay. So 4, 0, so 1, 2, 3, 4, it's an x-intercept, meaning it's on the x-axis. Negative 1, negative 75, I go left 1 and then down by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 75. Okay, and then negative 6, 0, so I go left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then stay in the middle, and we have our parabola. It's a pretty big one. Okay, now this is just a line, so I want to look at quadrant 4. Now, if we have just y equals in front, okay, we can use the 0, 1, 2 table. I do not have to use this 0, 0. So I'm going to be plugging in 0, 1, and 2 for x. Before I do that, I need to make sure there's not a fraction with a number on bottom, and there's not, so 0, 1, 2 will work. So I'll go negative 5 times 0 plus 7, that's 7. And then negative 5, 1 plus 7, that takes it down to 2. And this should not be the same. This should not come back up to 7 because it's a line. So negative 5 times 2 plus 7 is negative 3. Okay? So 0, 7, I stay, go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, I go right 1, up 2. And then 2, negative 3, right 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and there it is, the line. Okay, now I'm going to put that to the side, and now I need to solve equations. So we've done this quite a bit. Okay, you want to get your GCF calculator up. So okay, so how many answers? Well, this one would have 2. And then what do you have for x's? You've got x to the second power and x to the first. So if there's more than one thing, we need to go this route. The zero's there. Now count the terms. We have 1, 2. So 2 would be GCF, and then see if I have a difference of perfect squares. Might not, but at least I'm thinking about it. Okay, so the GCF, there's no negative in front of x. There is x in front of the first number. There's x on both, so we need x for sure. And then I'm going to go 15 and 30, okay? So if you're thinking 5, you're wrong. There's a higher number than 5, and it's 15 itself. So 15x is the GCF. Okay, so 15x is kicked out, and then we'll divide both of these by 15x, knowing I can cross these out. So 15 divided by 15 is 1 with x, minus 30 divided by 15 is 2. Now we do have a difference, but if the x is not to the second power, it is not a dot, so we cross that out. Okay. All right, now 15 has an x, so that GCF needs an f label 1 and then f2. So 15x could equal 0, or 1x minus 2 could equal 0. So I'll box these up. I just need to divide out 15 here. That's 0. And I plus 2, and that's 2. 0 and 2. Okay, my next problem. There's 2 answers. And what do I have for x's? I have x to the second and x to the first. So again, I want to make my factoring boxes. Okay, so the 0's there. How many terms? We got 3. So now it's GCF t. And we have this if the t doesn't work, but that only happens on just a couple problems, so we don't want to just do that every time. Okay, so GCF, do I have a negative in front? I don't. Do I have x on everything? No. And if I go 1, 3, 18 into that GCF calculator, it gives me positive 1, so get that out. Okay, now I go ABC, and I always take A times C. So A is positive 1, and C is negative 18. Now that gives me a negative up here. So if it's a negative up there, it's a difference that needs to equal 3. So 1 and 18. 18 minus 1 is not 3. 18 divided by 2 is 9. 9 minus 2 is 7, so it's getting close to 3. 18 divided by 3 is 6, so 3 is 6, and that is 3. Now, that 3 up there is minus, so we have to have a bigger minus number. And it's a difference, so they'll be the opposite, okay? Now, A, what is A? Where's the x squared? It's up here, it's 1. So 1x squared, and that is x if it's 1, as long as it's just 1, we can get by with just 2 parentheses, okay? So xx plus 3 minus 6. And there was no GCF, so this is F1, this is F2. So x plus 3 can equal 0, or x minus 6 can equal 0. So again, minus 3, that gives me negative 3. Plus 6, that gives me positive 6. Okay, negative 3 and positive 6. Okay, next problem. 6x to the second power minus 5x minus 6 equals 0. So there are 2 answers. Now I got to decide how I'm going to solve this. I have x to the second, and I've got x, so that tells me I need to make my boxes. I see that the equation is equal to 0. And there are 3 terms. So 1, 2, 3. So I would want my GCF, and then I would want my T-chart. So GCF, do I have the negative in front? No, I don't. Do I have x on everything? No, I don't. So let's punch in 6, 5, and 6, see what they say about that. Okay, it just gave me a 1 GCF. So 1, get rid of that then. ABC, so A times C. We will be taking positive 6 times negative 6, and that would be negative 36. So negative, so I'm looking for a difference that would equal out to 5, because that's what the B is. 136, not 5. 36 divided by 2 is 18. That's not 5. 36 divided by 3 is 12. Nope. 36 divided by 4 is 9, and that's it. Okay, 9 minus 4 is 5. So that 5 is minus, so you're going to have minus 9 for sure, and it's a difference, so that'll be plus. Now go look at what your x squared was. That's your A term. It's a 6 this time. So if it's 6, it's not just x times x. There's no way x times x could equal 6x squared. So to make sure you make it correctly, you want 4 parentheses. So I put 6 and 6, and then I split the, because that's what we have there. If that would have been a 10, I would have went 10, 10. X squared is xx. And then plus 4 minus 9. Now we need to divide down, if possible, 2 at a time. So I use my GCF calculator, 6 and 4. So 6 comma 4. I got 2. Okay, so we need to divide this down by 2, and that becomes 3x plus 2. Okay, 6 and 9. So I go 6 comma 9, and I got 3. So I need to divide these down by 3. So that is 2x minus 3. And there was no GCF, so 3x plus 2 is F1, 2x minus 3 is F2. So 3x plus 2 could equal 0, or 2x minus 3 could equal 0. Now we're going to get some decimals here, so I subtract 2, but I need to divide by the 3. So I divide by 3, divide by 3. Negative 2 divided by 3 is negative 0.6 repeating. Just put a sign above that. And then plus 3, 2x equals 3. Divide by 2. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. Okay, my next problem. There's 2 answers, but look out. This is why you do this little thing up here. You have x to the second only. You only have one of them. So don't make your boxes, okay? You need to collect your x's. That means make sure there's only one x. There is. And I boxed it up. Now isolate x. So you can add 5. So 5x to the second power is equal to 15. Now I divide by 5. And x to the second power equals 3. And now since it's x to the second, we need to find the square root of 3. What number times itself is 3? Heck, if I know, you need a calculator to do that. Okay, so 1.73. Now that's your one answer, and the other answer is the negative of that. Okay, next problem. There are two answers. What do we have for x's? It appears I have an x to the second and an x to the first, so we have to go back to our boxes. 0, 0, 0. You have three terms, so this would be the GCFT. Okay, my GCF, do I have a negative in front? Nope. Do we have x on everything? Nope. So let's take 1, 6, and 3 over here. And I got 1. Okay, so the GCF here is 1, means we don't have to do it. So A, B, C. So I take positive A times C, positive 1 times positive 3. That's 3 positive, so it's a sum of 6. You got to add the factors to get 6. 1 and 3 is all you have, and that does not make 6, so that is a fail. So it's time for our song. Opposite of B, opposite of B, so positive 6, plus or minus the square root, B squared minus 4AC, B squared minus 4AC, so parentheses to the second, that's what squared means, minus, and then 3 parentheses in a row. Okay, so B is negative 6, and then 4, A is 1, and C is positive 3. Now on the bottom we need 2 parentheses and whatever A is, which is 1. So I've got 6, got this big square root, and then 2 and 1. Okay, so plus minus, so we have 6. And 2 times 1 is 2, but the square root, I got to plug that in. So I go second, x to the second, so a square root comes up. Double the parentheses, it won't work if you don't double it. And I'll be putting in negative 6, second power, minus parentheses 4, parentheses 1, parentheses 3, 4.90 or 89, doesn't matter. Okay, and if you can't do that, you're going to have to do this, okay, to come up with 4.90. Okay, so 6 plus 4.90 equals, divided by 2 is 5.45. First answer. Now I take 6 minus 4.90 equals 1.1. Divide that by 2, 0.55. Okay, there you go. Now number 10 is a quick one. How many answers? This would just have 1. What do you have for x's? Well, you have x to the first power only. I know there's 2 x's, but they're both to the first power. So we want to take this route. So collect your x's. You have 2 of them. So collect means get it so there's just 1. You can either take away this or this. It doesn't matter. So I've got negative 4 equals 1x plus 5. And then box that x up. Isolate the x means get it by itself. So minus 5. Minus 5 and negative 9 equals 1x. We don't need the 1 and it's not to the second power, so negative 9 is my answer. Okay, next problem. Number 11. How many answers? 3. What do you have for x's? You've got an x to the third, an x to the second, and an x to the first. So we need to take the factoring route. So the zero's there. And this time, how many terms do I have? Well, it appears to me I have 4. Okay? So 4 terms. That would be the grouping and the dots. So I make kind of a big box to do my grouping. And then kind of a little box down here for the dots. Okay, so the grouping parentheses, it says how to do it right here. So parentheses plus parentheses, and then 2 parentheses with lines outside, line parentheses. So I'm going to put 1x to the third minus 5x to the second, and then negative 9x plus 45. Okay, negative in front, I think not. You got x on both. We want to take the one that's x to the second. We need to put it to the second down there. Then I'll go 1 and 5, but it's just going to give me positive 1. So you can put 1 down there. I'm not going to, but you can. You have a negative in front? Sure. Okay. And then you don't have x on both. Don't put an x. And then 9 and 45. That would be 9. Okay, so x to the second is factored out, and negative 9 is factored out. And that's 1 with x still, minus 5 with no x. And this will be the same thing, 1x minus 5. So these parentheses are now identical, and I pull out 1x minus 5. And that is F1, okay? Cross those out. And now I have x to the second power minus 9. And this is adopts. We have 3 times 3 and x times x, okay? So x, 3, 3. That's F2, and that's F3. So 1x minus 5 can equal 0. X plus 3 equals 0. X minus 3 is 0. Plus 5 to both sides. I get 5 for my first answer. Minus 3 would be negative 3. And then this one right here would be positive 3. Okay, now I got some parentheses, so I don't want to look here. I want to flip to the back side. Now, parentheses. Now, if there's no second power, there's going to be one answer, but if there is a second power, there's going to be 2. So if there's no second power, which there's not on this first one, we do the rainbows, okay? So 3 times x is 3x. Minus 9 equals 15, and then you just get the x by itself by adding 9. So 3x equals 24 and dividing by 3, and that's 8. Okay, now if there is a second power, you can't do the rainbows. You need to replace the parentheses with q and make a table over here, q to the second, by the way, because the second comes from out here. And over here, we'll be bringing this x plus 5, but not until I get the q by itself, okay? X plus 5, x plus 5. So we have a 3 in front and just equal it out to 27. And all you need to do is divide by 3. Q to the second power is 9. Now I square root both sides, and that's 3. But remember, it could be positive or negative. So 3 and negative 3. So I'm minus 5, and that's negative 2. Minus 5, and that is negative 8. Okay. Negative 2, negative 8. All right, now to the story problems. A community theater sells 150 tickets to a play in a given amount of time when it charges $20 per ticket. For each $1 decrease in price, 10 more tickets are sold during this time frame. Figure out after how many price changes the store can maximize revenue, and what will the maximum revenue be. So down here, my job's maximum revenue. So maximum problem, we make the maximum parabola. Okay, and I need to know that x is always opposite of b divided by 2 times a. And the y is always replacing x on the calculator. So now I got to get an equation. Now this is revenue. So revenue is always equal to the dollars multiplied by the items. So revenue, let's call that y, and then 2 parentheses. Now this parentheses can only be money amounts. So I go find the $2 amounts, $20 and $1. Now I don't care that that says per ticket. The 20 will not have an X on it. That's the original price. $1 decrease, so I'm minus 1, and that needs X on it. Now go cross those out. Now what do I have left? I have 150. If that's minus, this is plus, and then we're going to be doing 10x. Okay, now I need to get rid of these parentheses, okay, because I need something in front of x squared for a, and then something in front of x to the first for b, and then my last thing. Okay, and that's when you go to your Google search, Google, And you are going to Google Math Papa Algebra Calculator on a Math Papa Algebra Calculator. Okay. Okay, and I have that up. And I just punch it in. So parentheses, 20 minus 1 with x, close it. And then parentheses, 150 plus 10x. That does the rainbows for you, okay? We've done those enough, okay? We're good. Okay, so I got negative 10x squared, so negative 10, and then 50, and then 3,000. Okay, now I go up here, and the opposite of the b, well, that's negative 50, and then 2 parentheses a, so that's negative 10. So we know that's negative 20, and I'm going to divide these two, and that's 2.5, okay? Now that's okay to get a decimal. What that means is you decreased it by $1, another $1, and then 50 cents. That's okay. And then I replace that on my calculator. So negative 10 from here, parentheses 2.5 to the second power, plus 50, parentheses 2.5, plus 3,000. Okay, I got 3,062.5. Okay, so I'm going to say 3,063. Okay, and that's your max revenue. So 3,063. Okay, so any maximum we set up that way. Okay, next one. A skydiver leaps upward into the air with an initial velocity of 35 feet per second from a height of 96 feet. After how many seconds we enter water? So we're not finding a maximum here. We're just finding the seconds. So I would want to draw these three sides. Okay, so I've got feet in seconds. X is seconds, Y is feet. Then feet per second we know is 35. And it's a parabola, but I'm not finding the top point, so I'm not going to mark anything. So it's the gravity, so negative 16x to the second, plus this 35 with x. Now before equals, I got to see where he started from. He started from 96 feet, so I got to add 96 before equals y. Okay, 0 feet, and feet is y, so feet equals y. So you can just scribble out the y. Okay. And we have to find two answers for x, okay? And there's an x to the second with an x, so zero's there, and I got to do my three boxes. So GCF and the T-chart. Okay, so GCF, do you have a negative in front? Yep. Okay, now 16... 35 and 96, okay? Whoops, I'm on the wrong calculator app, okay? Matt, GCF. Okay, that's going to give you a 1, but it's negative 1, okay? You should use GCF calculator. Negative 1 then needs to be factored out. You got to do that. So it's positive 16x squared minus 35x minus 96, okay? Okay, 8 times C, 16 times 96. If you think I'm going to run the T-chart on this, you're crazy. Okay, 16 times 96. I am not doing a T-test if it's over 100. Okay, that's fail for me anyway. So I want to do my sum. So the opposite of B would be 35. D square root. B squared minus... Get good at setting that up. And B, so negative 35, and then 4. A is 16, and C is negative 96. Okay, and then 2, and what is A? It's 16. Okay, save yourself a lot of time if you just use your calculator. So you got 35, and 2 times 16 is 32. Now let's punch that square root in. Okay, so second square root, double it, negative 35 to the second. Remember to minus, I've got 4, 16, and negative 96. 85.84. So 35 plus 85.84 equals, divide by 32, I got 3.78. That's okay. Again, 35 minus 85.84 divided by 32, and that's negative 1.59. Now the positive one's the one we want to write over here. Okay, and the last problem. Skydiver leaps upward into the air with an initial velocity of 35 feet per second, same as last problem, from a height of 96 feet. What's the maximum height? Now you're finding a maximum, so don't do this. Maximum, we want to do this. Okay, find the b, x, opposite of b, divided by 2a, and the y is replace x on the calculator. Now you're talking gravity. So this would have the negative 16x squared, and then the feet per second, 35, with x. Then before equals, we got to remember he started from 96 equals y. Okay? All right, now I don't need that thing on the computer because I don't have any parentheses. I know I have an a, and I know I have a b. Okay, it's a little bit less. We don't have any parentheses. So negative 35 is the opposite of b, and then 2 times negative 16. So this is negative 32. And then I divide negative 35 by negative 32 is 1.09. So that's the seconds it took to get to the max height. Now to find the max height, you replace x on the calculator with this value. So negative 16, parentheses 1.09 to the second, plus 35, parentheses 1.09, plus 96, 115. Okay, that's max height, 115 feet. Okay, and that's really all I have to say on that. Hope it's been informative.